Hello and welcome to our fourth episode of the Collaborative Approach in Education. I'm Katie, joined by my co-hosts Tammy and Danny. This week's episode is called Finding a Service You Can Call Home.
Hi, I have actually been in this journey looking for a place where I could call home, and it happened in the past. And after spending 5 years in a place that it was truly my home, that I adored working there, but I did need a change after a while in change of circumstances. But when I went looking for a service, I found it really eye-opening. For example, I did find one place where they knew the reputation about the center I used to manage, and they asked me, can you turn us into that place? Can we be the same? So the occupancy was very low, and they were really trying to transform that place. And I said, yeah, definitely. There are lots of things we can do. Would you give me the permission to do these things? And they were, yeah, yeah, go for it. But when I first started working, when I was asking for new resources, because when I went to look into the cupboards and looking into the environments, there were not many resources available. I went to the staff room, there was mold on in the walls. There was not even a proper couch for teachers to sit down. So I went there myself, scrubbing walls, looking for couches, bought the couch from my own money, started buying resources and things because I was not getting approval from that place. And that made me realize that, you know what? I don't think I can go anywhere because my hands are tied. There's so much I can do with my own wages, buying resources to this place where there is not actually much of a budget allocated to all these things. And you can't have a high quality center if you don't have resources, if you don't have the right environments, and if you can't train staff. Because there's another thing. I had some staff that didn't have the right approach, where I wanted to then talk to them and give them warning for being not being really respectful towards children. And I was told I couldn't, because those staff members, the team members, they were really loyal to the center and they've been there for years, so they wouldn't want them to feel upset. So I could feel within myself that that center didn't align with my values, because one of the main values for me when working in this sector is respect. So it's respecting each other as a team, but also respecting the children. And I need, it is my duty to advocate for children. And if they're not having their needs met, or if my staff are not being trained, and they are not actually interacting respectfully to the children, I can't find myself in a place where I'm actually feel like I'm flourishing and I'm giving my best. And I want to work in places that I feel my best. So that didn't last long.
Yeah, and it's also it ends up being a reflection of you. So,
Yes,
and
exactly.
I can't, you couldn't have that, right? Like
No,
you can't.
that's how I
It
felt
becomes
like.
your
If someone came
reputation.
in here and said, "Oh, yes, yeah, I've been to that center. Danny is the director there," and I'm
Mm,
like, "No, no, no, this is not the reflection of who I am."
yeah.
Mm.
And I liked working in places where I felt proud, because I remember in the center before that, everybody knew that I was the director of that center, and everybody knew how great it was, and I felt proud. I want to work in a place where I'm proud. I can say it with my mouth full
Mm.
that I worked at that place, and look how amazing it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I totally feel that as well. I've been on a journey myself with working at a service that honestly I never expected to leave. I thought it was the most incredible place. We had the most incredible team. Director was amazing, well resourced. It was just a really beautiful community. And unfortunately, the director resigned, and then the leadership changed. Unfortunately, there was a lot of micromanagement from higher up, and it just really changed the whole feel of the service. We had been an exceeding service, and unfortunately, that didn't become high quality education didn't become a priority. The priority became other things that didn't align with my beliefs. I started feeling really anxious about going to work every day. I just wasn't happy. My passion was diminishing. I've always been a really passionate teacher. And I just, I got to the point where I was like, is this what I want to be doing? And I realized, like, it's not early childhood, as a whole. It's the service, and the service is no longer doing me a service.
Yeah, and when they start taking away those things when you've had them before, then you see the impact it has on the program,
Absolutely,
the
the children,
families.
yeah,
It's a really difficult thing to watch.
it is a really difficult thing to
It's
watch.
heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking, and I think that was one of the biggest things. Is I myself and the other educators had put our absolute heart and soul into the service, and then to see it diminish quite rapidly, and there was nothing we could do. There was no autonomy anymore, and you know honestly, all the educators lost their passion, and it was really clear. And you know yeah, the quality of, the practice and things like that weren't being driven by the leadership team. And, we had a majority of the team, there was a massive staff turnover, to the point that by the time I left, there was only 2 educators that were left from, that were there longer than 2 years. And I'd been there 8 years. So,
So
yeah.
when you start feeling like that do you feel like that you got out at the right time, or do you feel like you continued on and you tried to hold on
I
and
stayed on. I did, because I had put so much heart and soul into that service, and I knew how incredible it was and how incredible it could be. And I tried to hold on. I tried to continue to advocate. Um, but in the end, it just didn't serve me, and my mental health diminished, quite significantly. It started affecting my home life. I was going home to my own children, really down. I was struggling to sleep at night. So, having a young child, who wasn't sleeping that great anyway. And then on top of it, by the time she went to sleep, I was still struggling to go to sleep because everything was going around in my mind. I'm pretty hyper focused on a lot of things, and quality is like a massive passion of mine. And I just really struggled to disconnect. And even after I left, I still really struggled with that. Like, it took me quite a while to really, let that go.
And I think that like this, the new service I'm in, we've only been open 3.5 years, and it's so heartbreaking. I've done, multiple interviews, and seeing these educators come to you completely broken to the point where they're even saying to you in the interview, I'm at this service, I don't want to be there anymore. I just need to get out. And they're at the point where they're going to leave the sector
Completely.
altogether. And you can see these people, they're so passionate, and they wholeheartedly love their job. And when they get put in those positions, there's so many amazing educators we've lost to situations like what you're both talking about, really. And it gets all too much.
It even happens to me because after that center, I decided maybe this sector is not for me anymore, and I started working in IT sales for like 6 months, and because I just thought maybe that's it, that like there's no place for me because maybe I just hold a really high standard, and it's just too hard to find a place that would just align with those values of mine. And I would just give up. I would just use my strengths as a good communicator, a people's person, and I would do sales for a while. And I did it. I did it for 6 months, and until I just realized that, you know what, it is what I love. Like, I love early childhood. I can't stop doing it. So I went back to the sector, but it did take me out. And I remember when I first got the job and announced like on social media, everybody was like, no, like,
I was like, no, what are you doing? We need you.
Yeah.
People
because
like
they
you.
were like, you're so passionate, why are you doing this? But it's just because experiences like this can break you. And
Definitely.
it just end up I just end up thinking, you know what? There's nothing that I can do to change this. I'm not an approved provider.
And you
You know,
start
I
feeling like
can't.
you're not good enough.
Yes.
And that's like I think everyone's had an experience where they've been in a toxic workplace,
Yes.
and particularly for young educators, if it's their first job,
Yes.
then that sets the precedent of
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
early childhood is all about. And so, what I like to do and what I've noticed is that when these people come in, I try to be completely transparent with them, but I'm not only transparent with the people that I'm interviewing, I'm transparent with the whole team. So, what that looks like and means when I sit down and I interview them, I always take them for a walkthrough and a tour of the service so they get to see our service in action. But not only that, that also shows them that the educators know that there's an interview happening, there's transparency within our service. And then walking around, my educators are always so welcoming. They say hello, my name is, this is what I do. And they're always engaging with the children. And so when I feel like you're looking for that home, there's those key things to be looking for
Absolutely.
where you can see that someone's being open and honest with you, open and honest about what the role is. I have an educator that I've just employed, and we crossed paths a couple of months ago, and I was just so keen to keep hold of this person in the back of my mind because she just felt so right for the service. And I then had to advertise for someone, and she came back and saw me, and she's like, I am at breaking point. I think I'm just going to leave altogether. She had tears in her eyes. And one of my educators actually, ended up, she was out of the service for a long time because of an injury. And I was like, let's just hire her. We'll make it work because we're going to lose her if we don't hire her. And now she's just become this amazing educator. She's come to me. She's like, thank you so much. Like I can call this service home. You've created something special here. And the role that I hired her for, it's not her expertise, it's not the area she wants to be in. And so, like, I've promised her a role next year once she learns, how we program and all of those things in the area that she wants to be in. Because uh, I, being open and honest about where I was going to put her to begin with is so important for
Yeah.
her to know that this is all I've got for you right now, but there's, in the future, there's going to be this, and I will put you there.
Yeah.
So
And
it's just,
I think you can feel that as a person. Like you get vibes from people. And I think, if you're being really genuine in the service, everyone's really friendly and things like that, you're willing to, take that stepping stone. And if you're feeling like they're being really genuine, which I personally would if I was walking through a service and everyone was saying hello, and, you would feel that that person was being honest and would actually put you in that position and would hold out from finding a job elsewhere in a position that you are comfortable.
But for me, it all comes down to the culture of the team and
Absolutely.
being welcoming. And I've had to have conversations with educators about how they come across when a new educator comes in. And I don't want to come across as this tight-knit group that you have to work for to be involved in.
Yeah.
I want you to be open and try to get to know these people and look for ways to use being inclusive, but also trying to find out what are they really good at, what are their expertise, how are we going to create you as part of this team. And this particular educator had some really amazing interests and different things that she can do, which none of us have ever come across. So it was really cool to then integrate her into our service and have something special.
And I think also, when you are going in for interviews, when they're asking you questions personally about you, not just about, you know, your knowledge and things like that. That's all great and well, but being personal and saying like, what are some things that you love to contribute?
Yeah, I think too, like being comfortable where the conversation flows really easily and it's not, yeah, I think that you can really feel that and like that's where we try and have that point of difference of feeling like a home.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I feel like in the interviews as well, I always like to do that, asking like personal questions in a way that's like, tell me about you, and you can hear how like if they told you like, oh, I moved from this place to here and now, and then you can actually understand beyond that, like how they solve problems, and you can see how resilient they are. And, so you throw questions like that, and then people feel more comfortable. It's much, and I feel like for me, that aligns more with my values if I go to a place that makes a bit more friendly, that conversation, that interview process, more than when you go to an interview and it's like, how can you describe the planning cycle and
Yeah.
tell us what a sequel thinks of this. I
Mm.
feel like then it's just too
It should come naturally.
yeah, it should come naturally. And you can't see, some people can then, get a bit nervous when they're put on the spot like this because they're like, is that a right or wrong answer? I don't know if I'm what I'm going to say now.
But I think
But
you're
you can,
a person first. You're a human
yes,
first
exactly.
over an educator. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you may be able to do your programming, or you may not even be able to understand the program and things like that. But if you are a passionate person who is friendly, warm, all of that other stuff, the compliance stuff can be taught.
And I have this conversation with my educational leader all the time. If we have somebody that we wants to grow and wants to learn, then they're trainable. So I think in the end, it is just so important if the service doesn't align with your core values, what you want to be coming to day in, day out, because in the end, you spend more time at a service with these people than you do at home. So I think it's so important to find home, like find what drives you, what is this the right place? And if it's not, don't take a long time to reevaluate that. Make sure you have enough respect for yourself to go, this is not for me, and that's okay. And go find home.
There is absolutely a place out there for you.
Yeah.
Like 100%, there will be a service out there that aligns with you and feels right. Please do not leave the sector. Like
Yes,
it's
there are amazing places out there. We experienced it. We know that they are there, and it's just you just need to keep your eye on the things that are important to you. Like see if they have the same values. When you go to an interview, you're not just being interviewed, you're interviewing too. So make sure that you're asking the right questions. What are the things that are important to you? So important for me is that I'm able to have flexibility on my shifts. It is important to me that they know that on Mondays and Tuesdays I have this thing after work that my latest shift needs to be at 5 on that day. It is important to me that they provide professional development very often. It's important to me that the staff meetings are not all about housekeeping, that is actually inspiring staff meetings.
It's so interesting that you say that, because
Yeah.
all of my staff meetings, we have met, a massive change when it comes to that. So when we began, like it did end up being where we were they weren't productive. And so now we come together in like smaller types of meetings and we problem solve together, and it's much more productive, and all of our staff member meetings are on professional development or workplace health and safety. And we've completely moved away. We don't even have housekeeping on our agenda anymore, which is just
they can all go out in memos. And it's
Yes.
staff meetings are such an important part of that. Like I love going to a staff meeting that is really inspiring and empowering, and I walk out going, oh, yes. But when I'm going to staff meetings where it's just
Housekeeping.
housekeeping, I walk away going, we're not really valued, or we're getting told is all the things we're doing wrong and that we need to do and things like that. So
And I feel like that's when you know that you're working for the right place, because when you're asking those questions, and that's what they are telling you.
Yeah.
That's how they organize their staff meetings, and how they, you know, like about the flexibility and everything. They know that it is a place that truly care for that team.
And you feel heard.
And if you heard, and you know they're gonna listen, because if they can see the value in it, they can see the benefit of all of those decisions to their team, and then you have a much better experience.
Yeah, well, I think like to finish off, you just really need to celebrate that you have prioritized your well-being above everything else.
yeah.
Yes, and celebrate that you are aware of the value that you contribute. So know that, of course, to find the right place, you also need to do the work yourself. So making sure that you are giving what you want to receive. So if you want to, you know, like, do dedicate yourself to the industry, to the sector too, that you are doing professional development yourself, that you're reading about, you know, all the things that you need to know about early childhood sector, and that you're doing that work yourself, so you can be recognized in a workplace that you are of a strong value too, and then they do have they will benefit from having you there.
Yeah, well, you're working towards a better future for you where you can
Yes.
grow and thrive.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of the Collaborative Approach in Education. Join us next time for some more insightful discussions on this important sector. Until then, keep inspiring young minds. Please follow us on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with future episodes. If you have any feedback or any topics you would like us to discuss, please let us know in the comments below.